Welcome back to week 7 of the Authentara Blueprint Introductory Webinar Series. I'm David Pettrone Swalve. I'll be your host today, the author of Pirate Jokes Aren't Funny and the founder of Authentara. If this is your first time, welcome to the rep. If you've been here all along, you know we don't do theory, we do practice. And we practice behaviors, and behaviors is the one leaders dodge the most. I know that I have in my personal and professional life authentic dialogue. Let me say this clearly, and let me say it leader to leader. You don't need another framework. You don't need another opportunity to practice something that's only going to end up in the waste bin. What you need is the space to practice that works, to tell the truth in real rooms with real consequences. That's what today is all about. We're going to do a quick tech check right now, though. So if you can hear me and see everything clearly, drop a thumbs up or a check mark in the chat below, if you would, please. Ultimately, I want to make sure that everybody out there in the audience is able to hear me and see me. And let's go ahead and up, right? I want you to start thinking about this from the perspective of give me one word when I ask you this. How does giving us feedback feel for you right now? Not how should it feel, how actually feel. Type that in the chat, if you will, as well. I'll wait for responses. Um, Looks like risky, necessary. Yeah. And thanks for being real on all of that, everyone. Here's the truth. We know that most leadership books skip the part. We don't fear being honest. We fear what honesty might cost. The look, the tension, the silence that follows. So we soften, we delay, and we say, let me think about it. Let me find the time to bring it up, and we never do. But silence isn't safety. It's a decision. And silence itself becomes a costly decision for leaders. And it's a leadership decision that have to be able to make. Every time we avoid saying what needs to be said, teach our teams that truth is optional. So we start here with this. You can't coach what you can't name. That's not just a quote, that's a reckoning. So let's build from there. Here's where we are in the blueprint across the top there. The blueprint, our research-based leadership development program built on proven performance drivers, science of behavior and belonging, and research metric impact, along with the theory of leadership. But we're specifically in the behavior zone, I like to call it, with authentic dialogue. It's where leadership gets real or it stays rehearsed here in the behavior. So the authentic dialogue is not something that you can just retreat to, and it's not just something you journal to. It's what you use tension in the heat, in the room, when you know you have to be genuine. This isn't about knowing what to do. It's about doing it when it counts, because this is where most leaders fold, right? What ends up happening is they step back, not because they don't care, but because they've never practiced it, not out loud, not under pressure. And so today's agenda there at the bottom is really a three-part agenda. First, it's a truth that most leaders avoid. Second is I want to share a story with you where I've and what I've. And then, of course, since this is about practice and making sure we build reps, it's a rep you can run this week. Because saying the thing, it's really not natural in most cases. It takes training, it takes practice to prepare for those moments. So every time you stay silent or sugarcoat something, or you wait for that perfect moment, you're practicing not keeping the peace, you're practicing and protecting comfort. That becomes the call. So here's your gut check. What's one thing I've been avoiding saying even this week? You can type it in the chat if you would like. You don't have to say it out loud yet, but we're going to be getting there. All right. So what we know is this: truth bombs. I'll say it again. Truth Every time you bite your tongue when someone spins the story, every time you soften the truth to protect someone's ego, every time you wait and wait and wait, you're making a decision, and it's a neutral one, because silence becomes a policy. The team learns, hey, hard truths aren't welcome here. Accountability is optional here. We smile, we nod, we stall, but we say the thing. So if you take 1 week away from this, take this. Avoidance is a leadership decision. You're always shaping culture. The only question is with what? So as you start to look at this, you can see what we're talking about is authentic dialogue. It's in the center of the behavior zone on the authentic blueprint, and it's not a communication style. It isn't a tone. It's not feedback frameworks or feedback sandwich, which has always been kind of weird to me. This same thing at the real time, to the real person, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's going to land hard, even when you know it's going to cost. Leadership isn't always about being nice or being direct. It's about being honest with skill, not volume. Here's how we define it inside of the blueprint. It's a practice behavior of speaking truth under pressure with presence, with clarity, with integrity. The last word matters because you hold truth back, you hold trust back in people. But we want to make sure that we avoid the trap that most leaders fall into. Truth without tension, that's just a download. It often ends as exposure or anger. Without truth, that's just pressure. It gets read as manipulation or fear. But bring both of them together, the truth and the tension. Now you're in the authentic dialogue. That's when people stop performing and start listening. Not clean, it's not perfect, it's real. And real is where trust is actually built. Your team doesn't need a 360 to know you're not saying something. Feel it in your pauses, your pivots, your delay, your glances. That they see it. They know that you have to set the example. That's what makes authentic dialogue such a critical leadership behavior. Not a value, not a belief, a repeatable, visible action. And like every rep, only gets strong when you use it. I want to tell you about a moment that I flinched and cost me. I ultimately it cost a lot, but we'll get there. And it was one-on-one. And let me start again. It was on a 1-1. It's not a competition. It's not a one-on-one. It's a 1-2-1. One of my directors had tanked a team presentation, missed the tone, overrode people, talked too long, killed the momentum. The team was frustrated. I was frustrated, and I had everything I needed to say. Line. Have you ever been there? You've been. I brought the visual into the room. I sat across from them, and at that moment, I folded. Oh, I said, "You've had a lot on your plate. Let's think about how we can prepare differently next." Well, I know that you care a lot. Well, the reality is that none of it was untrue, but it all wasn't the truth. The truth was playing ahead, and it was saying, you hijacked that meeting, you shut people down. That wasn't leadership, that was control, but I didn't say it. I avoided it. Why? Because I wanted to keep the relationship smooth. I wanted comfort. I wanted ease. I didn't want to be too much because I told myself I'd say it next time, on and on. But there wasn't a next time. The behavior repeated, the team pulled back, and the trust broken. And it got with me, not just with that individual. The leader, I know that avoidance always feels easier in the moment, but leadership isn't measured in the moments. It's measured what gets normalized. That day, I normalized silence. and I had to own the fallout. That moment cost me more than just performance. It took me clarity on my team. It cost me relational equity. And I became the who didn't name it. So no one else did either. And that taught me this on their time. The only way to stop avoiding the truth is to train for it. And ultimately, that's what we're about to do. But first, let's talk about the cost of silence. Business Review study found 69% of managers say they're uncomfortable communicating with employees. 69%. That's when it involves tough feedback or hard truths. Not a skill gap. That's a fear pattern. And our neuroscience explains it. When leaders prepare to give difficult feedback, their brains up under literal physical threat. The amygdala activates, all spikes, and most of us do what the brain's built to do. We freeze or we avoid. But here's the problem. What we becomes the habit. We avoid becomes culture. According to Gallup, teams that rarely receive meaningful feedback, 25% lower productivity, 40% lower engagement, and 50% higher turnover. That's not just soft stuff. That's big time negative ROI. Too many leaders trying to be liked and get thumbs up and manage their image. Too many leaders stalling, trying to keep peace, save face, or manage perception, or but here's the tricky part. The voice is contagious, and when it starts at the top, it scales, and it scales fast in silence. That's why here at Authentara, we don't just name the problem. We offer ways to get out in front of it. We don't need leaders to be brave. We practice reps, we tools, and we practice clarity under losing our humanity. We're practicing, and we're prepared. We're prepared for what to do at the next time. And we use a say it anyway framework, and we can talk more about that. But before we do that, I want you to stop for a moment and I want you to think about the cost of silence and what's the one truth you're avoiding right now because it feels for not to say. You don't have to share it. Not just this time. You just have to name it because, as you know, awareness is the first rep. Speaking of reps, let's trade avoid presence. Here's how replacing avoidance with presence. It's the say it anyway rep. It's not a theory. It's not a framework. It's just practice. It's repeatable and it's usable. It's a repeatable behavior you can run. Stakes feel high and the impulse to flinch is strong. Here's rep. First, name the truth silently. Remember inner clarity we talked about in week 1? You know what you're avoiding. Call it out. This is what I need to say. This is where I usually blow up. This is where I usually back off. This is step 1, getting my arms around myself so I can just have a chance to regulate and manage emotions. But to do that, I have to take step 2, which is name the emotion, not the emotion. Don't just say I feel tight. Don't just name. Don't just say terms. Don't just say I feel tight. Name the signal. I'm afraid that I'll take this personally. I'm anxious. I'll mess it up. I'm angry. This keeps happening. Naming it gives you a grip. Unlabeling fear controls you. Naming it, you can lead through it. So number 3, then say it, not quickly, not forcefully, not just clearly. Here's what I've been holding back. This land smooth, but I need to be direct. You're not attacking. You're aligning as a leader. And of course, you have to follow up and follow through. Truth is around few to disappear. Circle back. How it landed, documented if necessary. You don't have to build just the moment. You're building trust in that moment. You're building trust with consistency and follow through. And then practice it again, because leadership itself isn't built inside, built in. And this is just one rep. You sit and you stay with it. So here's where I ask you for interaction again, right? There's a there's an arrow pointing down, or there's an arrow pointing away, there's an arrow pointing up, right? I want you to tell me probably where you flinch most in truth telling, right? Because we know for a fact that the work has to expand beyond our own self. Truth telling can't live in isolation. You want a real shift in your culture, you move it through your circle of influence. This is where authentic dialogues and behavior in a culture. Let's break it. There's your team where your influence is the clearest. You can model, invite it, you can reward it, you can show the rep of just say it. And at the end of the day, it's not just the doors always open language. Hey, what are we not saying right now? Where are we playing it safe? The questions that drive your organization. With your peers, it's really where avoidance hides most. This is where we want to keep the peace, so we skip the truth. But in the things sideways, where clarity and care is really already in, is probably how the authentic culture thrives. Try saying to someone, I've been sitting on something I need to name. Talk to your boss even about this stuff. Oh, boss is your fear and makes my fear spike. But this is where your silence becomes your brand in your organization, or you can have your presence. And it's the same feedback as you've got to find a way to say to this, hey, this may not be easy to say, but I need to be direct. And if you're thinking that it sounds bold, talk to your boss or to your C-suite about this, yeah, it is. But one of the things that we do is connect music and embolden ourselves. And the song this week is Truth Hurts So. And it isn't just a song, it's a standard. If you only speak clearly where it's safe, it's not a leadership behavior, it's a quirk. So I want you to stay in the room until it makes you sweat. Find a way to be able to go ahead and cascade this truth telling throughout your entire culture. We've said a lot today. And it's now really your turn to say something. Here's where you can start a real shift with small steps in this concept of authentic dialogue. It really starts with what you say next. So you see, this is a challenge on the left side. Name truth that you've been sitting on, right? And the one you've been rewriting or avoiding. Say it out loud on purpose this week, perfectly, not dramatically, just clearly. And when you feel that flinch, run that rep right in your brain. Hey, I'm truth. I'm naming the emotion. I'm going to say it anyway. And then I'm going to follow up and follow through and see what happens. Because people are confused by your intentions, they're shaped by your communication. And when you speak the thing that's been unsaid, you make the room safer. That culture's shift. But it scares you a little bit, good. That means it matters, right? As Lizzo said, truth, avoidance costs more. So say something real this week, for real. Hey, we'll be back next week, but if any of that starting to intrigue you, we have the certification cohort starting on July 22nd. Let me know if you know a leader who might benefit from this certification. When Gallup says 9% of employees are disengaged, as they did in their headline of their State of the Global Place 2025 report, that's not a stat problem. It's a leadership signal. Not because leaders don't care, but because they've been taught to perform instead of being present. But authentic dialogue breaks that. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always sound good, but it moves people toward alignment, toward action, toward one another. This week wasn't about volume. It's about presence, the kind that earns trust, not just ask for it. This week of authentic dialogue is pretty cool, but next week we'll reward the systems with aligned execution. And until then, say the thing, post the rep, tag Authentara. Go ahead. It's valid. We'll support you. Lead where it counts. Truth hurts, but it's needed. Thanks for being real. Make today awesome, because today is the day.